Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Sound Like Your Favorite 70s Rock Guitar Gods with Ulrich and Tomcat. You see, we moved into our new studio and we even found a beautiful new seat for Mr. Tomcat. Looks pretty comfortable, man. Yeah, so today is a real exciting day because we're gonna be looking at Jimmy Page. We're gonna analyze his playing and kind of find out what makes his flashy, fast, flurry sound. If we think of the British rock guitar players, then he's definitely in the triumvirate of the three rock gods, Clapton, Page and Beck. So he's way up there, you know, playing with the Yardbirds and then founding the new Yardbirds, which eventually developed into Led Zeppelin. So we're going to be talking about three important elements of his playing: his legato triplets, his repeating flash licks, and his intuitive sense of time. And then if you stick around until the end, Mr. Tomcat here is gonna share his guitar wisdom of the week. You know, he doesn't talk a lot, so whenever he says something, it's usually worthwhile listening to it. So I'm really excited what you have to say this time. You want to give us a little hint? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, but please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. We want to make sure as many people as possible can see this content here, and let's get right started. So really, it's as simple as that. Jimmy Page's legato triplets. He was one of the first to really showcase this kind of legato playing in his solos. What I mean by that is when he played just by himself and the band took a break. Like this very famous example here. To me, this triplet reminds me a little bit of Eddie Van Halen's solo triplets that later he added his tapping style onto. But what does this triplet mean for our own style? That means we can play with an open string and we can just move notes around if we want. Something like this, for example. But of course we don't only have to use the open string, we can also pick the last note on the string next to it, and then we get a figure like this. Do you see how this super simple concept already transforms our solo sound and makes it kind of sound like Jimmy Page? It gives us this fast, high octane type of sound. What do you think, Tomcat? Well, some people would say that he just plays very busy, and I have to agree. You know, he's definitely a busy guitar player that likes to play a lot of notes. But I want to put this a little bit in perspective here. Because what most people don't consider is that Jimmy Page is not only a legendary guitar player, he was also, or he is, a prolific songwriter. Did you know that he actually wrote most of the iconic Led Zeppelin songs, including Stairway to Heaven? Yeah, so he was also a writer. And then later, when Led Zeppelin split up in 1980 through the tragic death of John Bonham, he continued his career and even did movie soundtracks, released his solo album and all kinds of stuff. So, you know, you have to see kind of the big picture of his musical presence, and the guitar playing is just one aspect of it. Also, he has always been prolific on acoustic instruments. He's known to play mandolin, various 12-string guitars, acoustic guitars, you know, and you can hear that his sound with Led Zeppelin is actually real diverse. So he's one of those guys that are not known for one particular guitar sound, like, you know, Jeff Beck is known for playing a Strat mainly. No, he changed his guitar sound at various stages in his career. Kind of started out on the Les Paul and then played Telecasters, SGs, and then later on Stratocasters. Yeah, that's right. So Jimmy Page is known for these flash licks, repeating licks. You might have heard it many times. You also might have heard other guitar players doing it better or not so good. The danger of this style is that it easily can sound like noodling because it's a lot of notes and there's a lot of repeating elements. So you know the typical diddly 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 did is almost like a prejudice for a flashy guitar player that just plays too many notes. Or what do you say, Tomcat? I've been called out like that before. But let's look at some of the very specific licks that Jimmy's playing. You already heard this first one. I'm going to slow it down for you. There's actually two ways to play this lick. One is strictly by picking and the other one is by adding a hybrid picked note in there. You see that I'm picking the high E string, the A note, with my middle finger. For me personally, that just gives a little smoother sound. It gives me a little more control. So I like it that way. I invite you to experiment with that. Let's go to the next lick. And this one is a real famous trademark. So this is one of Jimmy's absolute trademarks. And again, I want to slow it down and also show you two ways to play this lick. So the figure is this one. The interesting thing is, if you think of like A minor, then Jimmy is playing something of a Dorian shape here. You know, he's playing the minor third, the ninth, and the sixth. And then later in the solo, I'm actually talking about the Heartbreaker solo, famous solo. He moves the lick down here, and that gives us different notes. It gives us the tritone, the 4, minor third, and the root note. So that's the cool thing about this lick. And then you could move it even forward further and move it here. So then you have the 5th, the 7th, the 6th, and the 3rd. So you see, with one lick you can really play 3 different licks. And not only here, you could play this in other pentatonics, in other shapes, in other scales even. It's just a concept that you can use. You could even play it like this. That would be in major, for example, yeah? Alright, so I told you that there's 2 ways to play this lick. So here's way number 2. So to me personally, way number 2 is actually preferable because it gives a smoother, more ringing type of sound, and I can really lock it in better. So I'm actually only picking 3 strokes, and that's the first one, and then the 2 last ones. See, it works really nicely. Okay, but there's way more for you to discover, because those are the real trademark Jimmy Page licks. Those are great if you want to sound like Jimmy Page. But what if you just want to use the concept for your own solos? And that's really what I want to show you today. So if we just take this really simple flash figure that he also uses a lot. Let's just try to move this through the pentatonic. And there's actually again 2 ways to do it. We can do it horizontally. On 2 strings, or we can move it inside one position in the pentatonic shape. There's many variations that you can try. I'm gonna slow it down so you can really dissect it here. You see, this is just a pattern basically that I can move all around the neck, and I can use different notes. I could even use this in regular, like 7 notes per string scales. Yeah. You get the idea. So it's not only a technique that works in the pentatonic, it's just a general approach. And my tip would be, don't overdo it. Use it sparingly, and unlike Jimmy Page that often keeps going and doesn't land on a long note, I really like this technique combined with the landing on a beautiful long note with a vibrato. What do you think, Tomcat? Pretty cool, huh? Alright, so this brings us to element number 3, intuitive time. And what I mean by that is that very often Jimmy wasn't really playing on the grid, but he was kind of just playing these flash licks intuitively and then just landing on the right spots. So that's the reason his sound is sometimes a little bit wobbly or chaotic. Some could even argue sloppy. But I want to say that he actually did this on purpose and wasn't really trying to lock in. But instead he was just kind of floating over the time. So I'm not going to comment if this is right or wrong, but I'm just pointing out that you can experiment with that and experiment with playing fast flurries of notes and then just land at a certain part of the beat, and that alone will make it work. So you play something flurry-like and then just have a good landing spot. I'm gonna demonstrate really quick. I hope you understand what I mean here. So instead of really varying where your time is, you just play those fast repeating licks basically as fast as you can, and then you just prepare your landing. So it's actually not that easy to really have a solid landing. So just experiment around with this floating type of approach that is a little bit different than a regular grid-based approach. So I hope you discovered some new elements in today's lesson that you can implement in your own playing. Because that's the thing. All this stuff only has value if you can really put it into your own playing. Except you play in a Led Zeppelin cover band. Right, Tomcat? Alright, let's do a quick summary here. So today I was digging into Jimmy Page's guitar style, trying to figure out some of the key elements of his playing, especially the ones that we can use for our own sound. Because of course, I could keep on talking about his accomplishments, his signature riffs that he wrote. I mean, he is such a badass riff composer. We could be talking about so many different factors, but I was mainly focusing on his lead style today. And so I was presenting you with his legato triplets, his flash lick style, and his intuitive sense of time. And believe me, if you implement those three techniques in your playing, you'll just have another element to draw from and just sound more versatile. If you follow this channel, you know that I'm all about versatility and all about building strong foundations. So if you haven't checked it out yet, strongly advise you to click on this link below. This is a free Hendrix workshop and you're gonna learn a lot of the important foundations that not only have to do with Jimi Hendrix's music, but are just generally important foundations for any guitar player. So if you want to build strong foundations on guitar, I strongly advise you to check out this workshop. What do you think, Tomcat? Okay, so before we completely wrap it up, we need to follow up with a promise, and that's on you, Tomcat, because you said you were going to share your guitar wisdom of the week. So what do you have to tell us, my friend?
A cat that can play is a cat that has good rhythm. If a cat doesn't have good rhythm, cat can't play.
Tomcat, thank you so much for sharing. And to you, we hope that you have a good rest of the week and we'll be talking to you very soon.